Happy Monday, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I don't know about you guys, but I have pulled out my sweatshirt again. We've gotten the colder temperatures back here, which I kind of like. I do. I like cooler weather, so I'm enjoying it. Anyway, I hope wherever you are safe and warm and or cool or happy, whatever you need for you. So thanks again for joining. Um, I want to say, if I don't know if y'all read my newsletter or not. However, if you have not listened to the Telepathy Tapes podcast, I cannot emphasize that enough. And you have to listen to it in order, especially if you have a curiosity about this work, like what like I see or what nudgings you get. I can't recommend it enough. These children are so gifted, so they're so beyond even tapped in, yet they explain consciousness and they explain what's really going on and they articulate it so well. And by the time you get to the seventh, eighth, and ninth, that's really where your mind's going to be blown anyway. But by the seventh, eighth, and ninth, it's like such a big picture of the universe starts coming together. And uh, I'll tell you, when I was listening to it, especially the ninth episode, I was just like, I had such a smile on my face and my body. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. They are articulating like what it is, people that do what I do, what we're tapping into. And it really, I just felt so connected and I still feel so connected. Like something in me just clicked and it's a really great podcast and I cannot wait for more. Um, so I highly recommend it. If you just want to understand a little bit more of what consciousness is about, what this universe is about, and even new thought stuff is in there, things that I had never even heard of, and yet things that made complete sense. So thank you all for joining. Thank you. I'm so glad y'all are here. Okay, so where are we? Okay, yeah. Let me get out of the cosmos a little bit. I have said honestly since last week, listening to that last episode, and also I don't know if y'all know if I've talked about this on here before, but the microcurrent neurofeedback, God, that too is just such a wonderful thing to treat the brain with. It really. It's a process that clears loops and patterns in the brain, in the mind, and it also detoxes the brain. So it can be preemptive for cleaning up that plaque in the buildup in the brain that's known to cause or been linked to cause Alzheimer's and dementia. So if you start it early enough, it can work on that. Um, but between that and the telepathy tapes, I swear, it's like I told my sister last week, I feel like somebody just peeled the veil back and I can see consciousness for what it is and what it feels like. And I feel so tapped into that oneness. And I think that's really powerful. When we can really tap into that oneness, it's like, gosh, we realize how connected we all are and how much influence we can have, and yet how important it is to tend our thoughts and, you know, be around kindness. The one thing that I love about the telepathy tapes, and I love the information that's coming through from it, is these children are only pure love. They understand what hate is. They can feel the vibration of hate, and when that emotion is present, it's like it shuts their telepathy off. Like they cannot communicate with someone who's got hate and anger and all those things in them, and they really do operate on love, and they emphasize love. That is the one emotion. And if we could get out of our material minds and really realize how important love is, we could change the world overnight. So it's just really God, the more people that listen to it and understand it, I think the more, gosh, that power of love is going to start to show up. So, anyway, okay, I'll get off that box for now. I'm going to read the prayer, and then let's see what the guides have to say today, and then we'll jump to the questions. Okay. Okay. I ask God if He will have a shield of love and truth around you permanently, so only God's love and truth will exist between you and me. I allow the masters, teachers, and loved ones of you to channel through me out of whatever realm to say whatever they wish. I ask the permission of the Lords of the Akashic Records, so I'm able to look into the records of you and remove whatever information I'm allowed. Okay. 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 So the guides want me to share another thing about the telepathy tapes, and that they said is important that they're emphasizing is that most all of the children that I don't want to say are being interviewed, but whose stories are being told in this podcast, one other thing they all have in common is quiet the mind. And they said there's too much noise. So they're very, very, very sensitive. And so this will speak to a lot of you people too that are here listening. Um, very sensitive beings. You know, we are sensitive beings when we are kind of tuned into this kind of work, or we have a fascination for this work. Something in this work resonates with us. You're going to be a sensitive person. It means your senses are heightened, and it's the same with these children. And one of the things the guide said is, in our sensitivities, we really would do well to quiet the mind more often and to be in environments that are pleasing, that are soothing, and that are very supportive of our sensitivities. So if we're around a lot of chaos, we're around a lot of clutter, we're around a lot of noise, that can really affect our ability to connect and tune in to our intuition or to the guidance, that's around us. So they would encourage all of you listening to reflect on that, in your own life. What changes can you make to have a more supportive, place that would foster that kind of what's the word, compassion for your own sensitivities, and at the same time recognize it in others. Some people really may be noise sensitive. Some people really may need soft soothing colors, or whatever it is. If you need, I have a little water fountain in my office. I just love the sound of the trickling water. What are things like that you can do for your own environment, for your own wellness, so that you can quiet the mind? So when we do quiet the mind, it's like we allow our senses to soften. And then when we're in a quiet environment or supportive environment like that, then our senses can really start to tap in to that unseen world that's around us. So they would love for you to really, take this week or next week and or just this month, and look at that and see what changes you can make for yourself. Now, they reminded me that last week they suggested getting up an hour early or having that quiet time. So they're really emphasizing, being in that place where your mind can be quiet and where your environment can be quiet. And what they're asking or inviting you to do is, in that time and space, be open to the unseen world around you and what might be trying to connect with you. So they're really giving you and us a tool to be open to their communication, to their guidance, and quiet silence, sanctuaries, those kind of things would be a number one thing to have for yourself. I love that. And then let's see here. What else they say here? And I'm looking at some of the comments as we go. Hi, Kathy. Love the David Brooks link in your newsletter. Yes, thank you. Again, if y'all didn't watch that YouTube video, he's a conservative individual. He's known for his conservatism, and yet his talk that I shared in my newsletter is just his perspective on what's happening in the United States with the different with the elitist in all the different classes here. It's just powerful, I think. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, let's see here if they have anything else they want to say. Okay, so yeah, last week also they were talking about how that's right. I forgot. We met on the last day of March, March 31st, next day, April 1st. So we were talking about how that, end of the month and looking at the beginning of the month, that kind of reflection. And so we are also looking at April 10th and how that's the first 100 days of this year. And I was reading Gretchen Rubin, I think's her name. She wrote The Happiness Project. I have not read that, but I've started reading her newsletter recently. And she said she always looks at the first 100 days of the year and does that kind of reflection, as in, where am I so far this year, and looking at where I thought I was going to be this year or where I want to be at this point in this year. So just take that as another little opportunity to do more reflecting. That's another thing your guides are going to emphasize is reflect, reflect, reflect. Really pay attention to your life, because you are the creator of your life and you can change things if you don't like the direction they're going. My other favorite saying is your inner world reflects your outer world. And if you don't like what's in your outer world, then you got to change your inner world. And that is changing your relationship with yourself, being mindful of your thoughts, what you're wishing for, for others. It's, gosh, the guides are saying to keep it simple. If you want the universe to be a kind place to be for you, then you've got to be kind in here. And that means you've got to have kindness in your heart towards yourself and all other living beings. And, and I'll admit, I got yanked out of my little reverie the other day driving here in Atlanta. And because I had my signal to get over for a long time, and this one person just refused to acknowledge me. And I found myself just yanked out of my happy place for a moment, like, oh my gosh, why can't people just be kind? And I had to laugh about it, like, boy, that quickly yanked me out. So I decided, driving here in Atlanta is not my sanctuary and not something I'm going to put myself in often, unless I can go and hold steady to my happy zone, if that makes sense. So yeah, the temple within. Such good stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna get here to the question. We've got some cool questions today. Let's see. So let me start here. Oh, and someone did send in a question just real quick and asked for me to keep it anonymous. And I want to reassure you, I always do that. I would even in a session, I never tell people who I'm having a session with, even if it's their best friend or sister. That's not my information to share. And I would never, ever, unless I had someone's permission to share. Or if it's like my sister or something, one of them, because I've done that before. Okay, here's the first question. I've been dating a guy for a little while now, and I would love to know if the guides have any insights and or advice about the potential relationship. Okay. Well, the guides are saying look for kindness, look for kindness. And the one thing that they would emphasize for you and for all women, they're saying, asking this question, and really all men too. They said anybody looking to be in a relationship or meeting someone, entering into a relationship is, they said to watch the actions, be mindful of people's actions. And are they kind? Are they respectful? Watch how they treat others. Watch how they treat animals. Watch how they treat their bodies. Actions tell you so much about a person. And remember, how a person takes care of themselves indicates how they will take care of a relationship and how they would take care of a partner. And so they just said, rule of thumb, pay attention to actions. And you'll see what you need to see in those actions. I am hearing so far so good. So the other thing is, they are saying to enjoy the time, the space, the tempo. Be light about this. Be curious about this. And they said, let go of any expectations of where it might go. And that will help you to be more authentic. So, when we can be detached from an outcome, or we can let go of an expectation of someone or something, then we're free to just be in that moment with it. And they would guide you to do that. But I am hearing to tell you, so far, so good, to stay aware and pay attention to the actions. Let me see if there's any thing here. They also said, and this again is for everyone, set the bar high, and really refrain from settling in any way whatsoever, because it does no one any good. Listen to people's stories. That's really important, what stories they're bringing, to share. And are they attached to stories from the past, or are they, sharing stories of their dreams for the future? So they said you can tell a lot about a person by the stories they tell, how they live their life. So really pay attention to that as well. And that's some good dating advice, isn't it? Okay, here we go. All right. I have been having some really distinct ringing in my ear lately and wondered if it is tinnitus or if the guides are trying to share a message with me. It's so funny. I have had more people talking about tinnitus in the last year. So let me see here, because that makes me think that is there something bigger going on? The guide said there's always something bigger going on, and they say that with a smile. And in your case, let me see if it does. Yes, I would say there is some tinnitus there. And I would say, and yet it also is trying to get your attention to really listen to a message that you need to hear. Is there something you don't want to admit? Is there something you don't want to hear? Is there something you're refusing to hear? So tinnitus can be that distraction of it. But ironically, it's bringing attention to your hearing. So I would say, there's something you need to hear, a message, and maybe you've already heard it and it's repeating, and yet you're blocking it out subconsciously, if that makes sense. So if that grows stronger, I would say the message is getting more demanding, but it does look like you might need to tend to that in a way, physically, like it's already manifested into a physical experience for you. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful. Okay, here we go. All right, my landlord raised my rent and is also thinking of selling the property. That said, with rent being really expensive everywhere and my finances not exactly great because of recent happenings, I'm trying to decide on a course of action. I have lived in my current place for 20 plus years, and I'm hoping that my guides have some advice for me. Gosh, okay. That's big stuff. I know that's yeah, when you're looking at housing stuff, and hey, I can attest to that. It really shakes the world up, doesn't it? And rightfully so, y'all. Houses are there are foundations here. It's how we live life from. It's, how we got to have that root chakra, that base need met before we can kind of go be out in the world. So I understand the uncertainty of that. So, what I'm hearing to tell you is that it's time for a change. The changes you've been going through are not over yet. And so, there's more change to come, and this is a part of it. And they would have you really reach in to your faith here, your ability to trust in the divine, and know that you're being guided into something that's much better for you. Even though it doesn't feel like it, it feels like this is a lot of disruption in your life. They are saying, for lack of a better word, term I can come up with or hear, and they mean no disrespect by this, yet they would encourage you to go with the flow of this. Be open to the change. And what's on the other side of this is really going to surprise you. And I'm hearing there's more love and connection on the other side of this. So I would say you're going to move in with someone, and I don't know who that would be, where, any timeline or anything like that, yet it actually looks like a really great place to be. And again, it's going to be different. I feel like you will be getting rid of a lot of stuff, and yet at the same time, the new environment's really going to serve you. So you're meant to still be living here, and it looks like this is just almost a real shove onto a new path. One you probably don't even know you need or would love. So hopefully that's helpful. As much as you can, I would say jump in and trust in this process. Okay. All right. So recently, we heard from the guides that the Bible contains some inaccuracies regarding Jesus. For those of us who consider Jesus a role model, is there a more truthful resource we should reference regarding who he was? Or is there an even better resource regarding another role model that we could study? Thank you. Thank you. What a great question. Let's see here what they say. Okay. So one of the things that I'm hearing is that and most of you know this, the original written material has been altered and altered from different churches, religions, institutions, so that what many of us grew up on learning about Jesus is different based on where you were raised, with what Bible you were raised. And they said it's been altered so much, and part of it is to make Jesus have a particular persona, to look like one way. There's a lot of truth in these things. They said some of the, not necessarily inaccuracies, they said there are things left out. Is what they would have you know is that Jesus was human, and the guides, if they had their way, they would have more stories there that really revealed his humanness, because then it would be even more of a role model, if that makes sense. And we would understand how Jesus was human just like us, and it would empower us more to know, like he said, this you can do and more. And yet what the guide said is the Bible's left that part out, as far as Jesus was here and they made him so great and special, it almost made him feel unattainable to us. Excuse me, I dropped my questions here. And so that's what they said is a real disservice, is that Jesus is very attainable. He is, he was human, and he came to show us what we could do, what humans are capable of, and the magnificence of who we are. And it's like that whole piece of why he was here was altered. Does that make sense? And so we feel very separate from that essence of the divine, and the guides would have us understand that we are the same as that divine. And so that has been a great disservice to humankind, as far as those following Jesus. What they would have you understand is look at all the great leaders, and Jesus being one of them, Buddha being one of them. And you could say Muhammad too. There's so many great leaders out there. Martin Luther King, even. It's like, and take from all of them, and learn from all of them collectively, because you have to remember there is one divine, and many paths to get there, many different religions to get there, many different role models to get there. I mean, so they said they would really expand your understanding of the different role models, and you'll see a theme, and be open to how things resonate for you, how that feels for you. Is that a truth for you when you look at all of the other resources? And be open to not choosing just one path, because they're all going to the same place, and you may find another guide resonates a little bit more in one way. So the other thing they said to remember is that Jesus had relationships, and he he is not often portrayed as having a partner or a partnership or a romantic interest, and yet he did. And so those things too, being left out of the stories, how to navigate relationships is so much a part of our journeys here. And again, when you think about Jesus being in a relationship, it sure would be helpful to know how was he in a one-on-one romantic relationship, because so many of us, that's driving, our stuff here. So they're just saying a lot was left out. A lot was left out. And if you want, they said they would have you in kind of a daydream, even, or an active imagination. Imagine how Jesus would be in a partnership and in a relationship, and start there. So they said the one thing Jesus took into his relationships was his authenticity and his love of self and love of others, and that oneness and that connection. He saw no separation, and he appreciated the female. He appreciated the male. I don't know if that makes sense, but they're just saying he would have a very modern day. Like, we're not ready necessarily for his understanding of relationship. And the one thing to keep in mind is he let everybody be who they were and are, if that makes sense. So this might be fun to explore a little bit. I might have to do a little meditation on this with my own guides and see what more information I can get through, just because I'm curious too, and I really appreciate that question. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, the worry card keeps popping out of my deck of cards, no matter how many times I shuffle or redraw. What is that in reference to? A person or an event? Okay. I'm looking at some of the comments here on Jesus, y'all. That's so funny. I bet he helped around the house. I bet you're right. I bet he cooked too. Okay, so let me see here. The worry card popping out of the deck of cards. Let me see. Well, I am hearing. Oh, this is such a good question for in the flow of things. What they said is that you are tapping into the collective kind of consciousness right now. There is a mass worry all over the globe, and that is something you're tapping into. And so the guides are acknowledging that worry for sure, and they want you to know, yeah, there's some things you're worried about, and yet you're also tapping in uh, to the vibration on the planet right now of worry. There's a dominant worry going on right now. And everybody's got their individual worries of things they're dealing with, personally. And then we've got, the global stuff, the national stuff, and uh, worrying about what's happening to other people and the climate. There's so much right now. And that's what the guide said you're really tapping into, is that collective. And so when you pull that worry card, they would ask you to send that benevolent prayer out to the world. And, Tom Moore, we talk about often, if y'all get his newsletter, he includes in his newsletter every week the benevolent prayer to say for the world, the environment, things like that. So check that out. And that is something you can incorporate into your daily routine. And if you've read his book, The Gentle Way, he's got a most benevolent request that in there that he suggests you say every morning for the good of all the earth, lakes and rivers and streams, all of it. It's really beautiful. So, and he'll be here next week. Remember, it's 4:00, so it'll be an hour early than when we meet here. If you haven't read The Gentle Way, we'll be talking about that and how helpful that is, and so much more. So, and that's it for the worry one. But thank you for asking that. That gives guidance for all of us to use. Okay, so we have time, you guys. Let me look over here. Let's start at the top here. Okay. I keep having OBEs where I die. I don't mind because I feel one with myself and God. But can you ask the guides what the purpose of these OBEs? What is the purpose of them? Okay, let me see here. I'm just hearing you're tapping into a different kind of reality and experience that we can all be having. And I would say this is part of your consciousness expanding. And so you're meant to be open to this expansion. And actually, you might be having these experiences for now to get used to them, to be out of that body. One thing that you're understanding is that we don't die. We don't die. The body may die, yet we don't die. And so when you're having these outer body experiences and the body dies, just look at that as being in your full consciousness and not needing the body at that time, space reality that you're in that moment. And see if you can expand upon that experience instead of letting it happen to you. It's kind of like a lucid dream. When you have a lucid dream, but you become aware in your dream that you're dreaming. And y'all ever had that happen where I don't know if y'all heard that, my cat, when you become conscious in a dream and you can start to manage the dream and you can steer it into having an experience you want to have. So it's the same thing with the OBEs, or out of body experiences. It's the same thing with that. When you can start to direct that outer body experience once you're there, that would be the next step to take it. And the guide said that you're being invited into that next level of expansion, and be open to what information you might bring back. So it's kind of cool. Okay, let's see here. All right, didn't Jesus actually live out the rest of his days in obscurity in France? Well, I can ask the guides that. You may be absolutely right. Now, we do know that Mary Magdalene was his lover, was his partner, was his chosen person. And there, that's where she was. That's where this beautiful temple is um, in Provence for her. So I would say there's some truth to that, but I will ask the guides. So they are saying, wow, this is so interesting. And our human minds might struggle to comprehend this answer. And did the crucifixion occur? Did the ascension occur? They said yes. They said that did occur. And at the same time, because he could ascend with his full body, um, because he could easily walk through the veil, he could easily come back through the veil. And so, yes, they said he was, for lack of a better expression, almost rewarded with his time in France with Mary Magdalene in obscurity. She wasn't so much, yet he was, and he was gifted that by the divine. And again, remember, he understood his divineness. So there was no separation for him between the physical and the non physical. And to him, it was the same thing. So I am hearing yes to that. So I love that you brought that up. Wow. Okay. How much longer must we wait for my tax refund? It appears my husband and I are asked to be patient, wait for the return of money that is rightfully ours. Oh gosh, don't you hate it when you want something every day? It just feels so elusive. It's that wanting. So get out of the wanting energy as best you can. Um, I was talking to my cousin today, and we were talking about surrender, and it's like surrender is just when the dam breaks, when the flow occurs. It's like if you can allow yourself to surrender, that there's a plan. I'm not aware of that full plan, and I've just got to trust in that flow and process. In that surrender, knowing you're going to be okay, knowing it's going to work out, is really what sets all of that stuff in motion that you want to receive. And so I am hearing, let that be your practice for this week. And even if you just have to say every morning when you wake up and you have that thought, is it come today? Just say, I surrender. Wait, I surrender. Scratch that out. I surrender, and I'm trusting it will come at the most perfect time. So there is so much stuff going on. It does make you wonder as far as like the IRS and all the crazy there. But let me see if they will give me an idea of a timeline for you. Feels about 2 more weeks. So I don't know what that might mean. But you'll have to let us know. Hopefully, we can say a living prayer for you too, or you can say a most benevolent outcome request that it happens within the next 2 weeks or sooner. Okay, let's see. All right. Do the guides have any comments about the Urantia? Is that how they answer questions about God, life, and the inhabited universe? The history and future of the world, a narrative of life teachings of Jesus. Ooh, okay. Let's see here. I am hearing, yes, they would encourage that book. So there's another answer for another resource. I love it. Thank you. I have not read that, but now I want to. And they are saying that was insight was gifted and brought forth. So absolutely be open to the information in there is what I'm hearing. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. All right. Let me so we're talking about Jesus and relationships. Let me get here. I'm going to skip around here a second. Is there such thing as a twin flame? Thank you for asking that too. We hear, in relationships, soulmates, soul partners, twin souls, twin flames. And the guides definitely acknowledge there are twin flames. Do you meet one every lifetime? No, and that's okay. We understand on our soul levels that this lifetime is just a drop in the bucket to the ocean, so to speak. And so we don't take each lifetime so seriously as far as having to be with our twin flame every time. So one thing that they would have you understand is when you think about twin flames, think of two souls very vibrationally aligned coming together to create a bigger flame. And when you think about fire, I've never had it explained this way, so this is really cool. They said twin flames, think of two fires that are very similar in their burn, similar in their vibrations and alignments, so similar it looks twin, like total mirrors of the other. And when they come together, that flame grows higher, brighter, stronger. It's like putting, two candle flames together. It's a much brighter light. And they want you to think about when fire grows stronger. Fire is a great purifier. It comes to change the landscape, so to speak. It comes to take out the old and create room for the new. So twin flames come together, and they often, even if they've lived very different lives, they often have a similar mission or desire or vision of how they want the world to be a better place, or how they see the world, can be better. How they recognize an element of need, what they could do together in service to make that happen. Does that make sense? So often twin flames come together with a real purpose, a real mission, and it's usually to affect the world in a positive way. And so they will find some way in their union together to work together. And it's like a passion of, I don't want to say it's a career, because it's not a career, but it's a mission, a passion. It's like a soul's calling that's really brighter, bigger, stronger, because they're the two together. It's like a burning desire to influence the world, whether it's a community they're in, a city they're in, a state they're in, a country they're in, or whatever it might be, but to influence growth and expansion, healing in a lot of cases. So hopefully that answers your question. I love that you asked that. Okay, let me go here. May I ask for a message from my guide Luther? Had a terrifying sleep paralysis experience last week and never had that before, and wondered why he wasn't there. Heard he traveled. Okay. So I'm not sure if I understand your question. You had a sleep paralysis that you haven't had before? Okay. All right, hang on here. I might. I'm going to let you give me a little bit more information on that before I answer that one. I'm going to skip here. I was wondering if the guides could tell me if I will be moving this year and if my business model needs to pivot as I get older. Okay. Let me ask that one real quick here. I'm hearing yes, moving feels like summer and fall, and also yes on the business model. And one thing, I'm glad you asked that here, and that you felt nudged to put that out there. What the guides are saying is, remember, the country, the world is in great transformation, and we really are seeing drastic change I mean, changing the way COVID brought change. And so they said to get ahead of that change and look at your life where you need to make changes and do that change now, or it's going to be shoved on you, kind of like COVID gave us no choice but to make changes. The same energy is in motion, and it's got a bigger punch, and it's moving faster. And this is what the guides are saying. And so they said to get ahead of that change. And if you think you need to move, that's in your best interest. If you think you need to pivot your business, that's in your best interest. Even if it's a thought, but you're not sure, you know what? That thought's there for a reason, and they would act on that thought. So change is inevitable for every single person on the planet. And they would encourage you to get ahead of the change. Get ahead, get ahead, get ahead. And ideas that you have, they said listen to those. And if you have to get into that quiet space, and for example, say tomorrow morning you might wake up early, it's quiet where you are, and just if you can be in that quiet space without your phone, any distractions, eliminate any noise, and just ask your guides, is it in my best interest, to pivot my business, and what will that look like for me? Any ideas or guidance that would be helpful. So this is how you can connect with your guides. And then you just sit and listen and listen, and you might feel like nothing's coming. I'm just waiting for, what am I waiting for? Will I hear it? Well, how am I going to get this information? They said to just be with all of that and let your mind run through all of those things, and just remind yourself to be open. And if you have to picture a still lake, picture a still lake and let your mind be like that still lake. And then you might hear something like, yes, pivot, or yes, this is what it looks like, or yes, and you might hear another word, but it'll make sense to you. But this is a wonderful way to practice connecting with that divine wisdom that's all around you. Okay, here. Okay. Sleep paralysis. Well, let's talk about sleep paralysis for just a second. I am not a dream expert by any means, yet a lot of dream therapists can speak on sleep paralysis. Hang on 1 second here. Let me see if. All I will say this: when we have terrifying experiences, nightmares, things of that nature, there is an effort to really get your attention. And it's almost like the sleep paralysis is saying, no, pay attention, be here now. You can't run from this. You have to really be present with what this is. Fears manifest in our dreams. So it'd be helpful to really understand, what fear was manifesting that paralyzed you. And again, it's like the guide said earlier to the question about the worry card coming up. There's a lot of worry in the world, and you could be really tapping into a collective fear. There's a lot of fear. People are really concerned about their futures and what each day holds. And just like our next question, will I be able to stay in my home due to questionable Social Security status right now? I mean, that's legit, and that uncertainty is everywhere. And so the fear that you got paralyzed to could be you tapping into that collective also. There is, y'all, if you could understand the divine consciousness, it's almost like it is expanding, and in its efforts to really connect with people, to foster these connections, for us to really tap into what's going on in the world. People's intuition is really starting to show up and go through the roof, and you have to understand some of what you're getting is that it's your own connection expanding. And So you will experience changes in that way. So be prepared for that and understand that's part of what's happening. It's kind of like when people start to, their third eye starts to open, that mind's eye starts to open, they might say, well, I see colors now, that just go by. Colors like you don't see here, in the physical world. And I see faces. I just see random faces just passing by. I mean, all of that is about your mind's eye starting to open, and that's going to grow. And so when you're having these, experiences that you can't explain, even those terrifying ones, you have to realize your gift is expanding. So as far as being in your home, Social Security, I'm hearing yes. I'm hearing yes, you'll be able to stay. So let's see. And just another comment on the sleep paralysis. Let's see here. I know you said that's extremely rare for you to dream something like that. You couldn't move or call out. So, I've had plenty of sleep paralysis dreams, but I'm a big dreamer, and I always have been. And I went through a period in college when I was changing my major, and oh my gosh, I had sleep paralysis every time I went to sleep, even if I took a nap in the middle of the day. It was awful. And it wasn't till, and I think I probably told this on a show before, but it wasn't until many years later that what was visiting me, which was so horrific, was really a guide of mine trying to get my attention, really trying to get me not to change my major. Um, but, I didn't know it at the time. It all makes sense now. And it certainly plays into the work that I do now. So, there's a reason. And I would say, even as terrifying as in that moment, if there's a point you can become conscious in it, um, and ask what it wants to tell you, and let it know you're not afraid and that you understand it has a message. If you can get to that point, if you can, push through that fear. So that could be really helpful. So, gosh, you guys, you know, if I could say anything today, I would say really start to expect the unexpected. Really start to be open to things happening that have never happened before to you, because we are evolving, and this is an explosive time, in the universe. The divine is really calling all souls, so to speak. And so, as much as you can, like I said, expect the unexpected. Let yourself be surprised and delighted. Let yourself be curious. And even in those terrifying experiences, gosh, if you can write them out, um, really be with them the next day when you can be free from that fear, and see if a different perspective shows up for you. Yet, if anything, it's a magical time, it's a powerful time. And if you could understand how much you're surrounded and supported by all of these beautiful beings in the universe, it's like, gosh, what you could do, what you could move into, what you could make happen. You really could understand, what a powerful creator you are. And so be with the change, be with the flow, be with the unexpected. Like I said, be curious. If you can grab that childlike sense of wonder, do it. This is a really big time that we're in, and they want you to feel that bigness, and they want you to appreciate your part in that bigness, because you're here for a reason at this time specifically. So, whew, sometimes it feels like we're on a roller coaster. Um, but I like roller coaster rides. So, okay, I think, you know what? Let me get my cards. I forgot to grab those. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to do, there's no roller coaster card in this deck. Okay, hold on here. Okay. Oh, taking flight, energy, enthusiasm, passion. You are the fuel for your projects in life. Things are beginning to take flight on their own. You're on the right track. Keep going. Well, there's no roller coaster car, but roller coasters are on a track, aren't they? That's hilarious. But you are the full fuel for your projects. This is all about passion, energy. We're in this together. Okay. Thank you all so much. We are rounding out at 5:55 Eastern. 555 is the number of big change. Change is on the way. Movement, energy, change, action. So, wow. Hang on this week, and I will see you next Monday. Okay. Bye. Thanks.